Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakamitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshware Rishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're reading from the 5th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Title is in chapter Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. And the Sanskrit we're going to do now. Everyone can turn to in their books. Chapter 5, text 19. I don't know if it goes on. Anyway, 5:19. I think it's going to come on. Yes, here it is. Ihaiva tir chita sargo.
Ihaiva tir chita sargo.
Yesham samye stitam manaha.
Yesham samye stitam manaha.
Nirdosham hi samam brahma.
Nirdosham hi samam brahma.
Tasmad brahmani te stitaha.
Tasmad brahmani te stitaha.
Ihaiva tir chita sargo.
Ihaiva tir chita sargo.
Yesham samye stitam manaha.
Yesham samye stitam manaha.
Nirdosham hi samam brahma.
Nirdosham hi samam brahma.
Tasmad brahmani te stitaha.
Tasmad brahmani te stitaha.
Ihaiva tir chita sargo.
Ihaiva tir chita sargo.
Yesham samye stitam manaha.
Yesham samye stitam manaha.
Nirdosham hi samam brahma.
Nirdosham hi samam brahma.
Tasmad brahmani te stitaha.
Tasmad brahmani te stitaha. Ihaiva tir chita sargo.
Ihaiva tir chita sargo.
Yesham samye stitam manaha.
Yesham samye stitam manaha.
Nirdosham hi samam brahma.
Nirdosham hi samam brahma.
Tasmad brahmani te stitaha.
Tasmad brahmani te stitaha. Ihaiva tir chita sargo.
Ihaiva tir chita sargo.
Yesham samye stitam manaha.
Yesham samye stitam manaha.
Nirdosham hi samam brahma.
Nirdosham hi samam brahma.
Tasmad brahmani te stitaha.
Tasmad brahmani te stitaha.
Taijita sargo.
Ihaiva tir chita sargo.
Yesham samye stitam
Yesham samye stitam manaha.
Nirdoshahi samam
Nirdosham hi samam brahma.
Brahmani sita.
Tasmad brahmani te stitaha.
Iheva te chita sargo.
Ihaiva Taijita Sargo
येषां साम्ये स्थितं मनः
Yesham Samye Stitam Manaha
निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्म
Nirdosham Hi Samam Brahma
तस्माद् ब्रह्मणि ते स्थितः
Tashmat
Tasmat
Brahmani
Brahmani
te
Te
stita.
Stitaha
Iha,
इह
Iha
this life,
In this
in
life,
this life
Eva,
Eva
eva
Eva,
certainly,
certainly,
certainly
I,
they,
they
by them,
by
by
them,
them
Itaha,
Jitaha
conquered,
conquered,
conquer
Sargaha,
Sarga,
sargaha
birth and death,
birth
birth
and
and
death,
death
Yesham,
Yesham,
yesham
whose,
whose,
whose
Samye,
Samye,
samye
and equanimity,
in equanimity,
iniquanimity
Sitam,
Stitam,
stitam
situated,
situated,
situated
Manaha,
manaha
mind,
mind,
mind
Nidosham,
nidosham
Nirdosham
flawless,
flawless,
flawless
he,
He
he
certainly,
certainly
certainly
Samam,
Samam,
samam
in equanimity,
in
in
equanimity
equanimity
Brahma,
Brahma,
Brahma
like the supreme,
like the
like the
Supreme,
supreme
Supreme
Tasmat,
tasmat
therefore,
therefore,
therefore
Brahmani,
Brahman,
Brahmani
brahmani
in the supreme,
in the
in the
Supreme,
supreme
they,
they,
they
they,
they
Sita,
Stitaha,
sita
are situated.
are
are
situated,
are
situated.
situated
Translation. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are always situated in Brahman. Purport. Equanimity of mind is mentioned above, is the sign of self-realization. Those who have actually attained to such a stage should be considered to have conquered material conditions, specifically birth and death. As long as one identifies with this body, he is considered a conditioned soul. But as soon as he is elevated to the stage of equanimity, through realization of self, he is liberated from conditional life. In other words, he is no longer subject to take birth in the material world, but can enter into the spiritual sky after his death. The Lord is flawless because he is without attraction or hatred. Similarly, when a living entity is without attraction or hatred, he also becomes flawless and eligible to enter into the spiritual sky. Such persons are to be considered already liberated, and their symptoms are described below. Translation again, those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Puchani Nivase Sasanyavadi Prastachati Satarani. So this verse appears, we're going to read another verse, but it seems more like a Brahman realized person. When he says Brahman, it doesn't necessarily mean like the Brahma Jyoti, but it can mean that. But when Prabhupada talks about can enter the spiritual sky, it's not, he says it twice in the purport, spiritual sky. normally it says he can enter, one of the Vaikuntha planets or Krishna Loka planet. So that those two times that Prabhupada says in the purport, the spiritual sky, seems to me that it's more of a Brahman realization. And of course, if you have such a realization of a Brahman realization, as a devotee, you would also have this sameness of equanimity, feel the same mind will be, feel it. It's different. You're making distinctions, but you're not, as far as the body is concerned, happiness or distress, heat and cold, honor or dishonor, it's all the same. Because you're not the body. You're a spirit, soul, and eternal servant of Krishna. So the mind being in sameness and equanimity also in sameness, because we're seeing everything is Krishna or Krishna's energy. So it's not different. So as devotees or as people striving to merge into Brahman, in the beginning stages, we don't feel complete peace of mind. We get agitated. There's so many different things that agitate us, so many things that disturb our mind. When the people we love are in difficulty, that disturbs our mind. We're attached to them. There's so many things that disturb our mind. Now, there's also spiritual anxiety, where you're in anxiety for Krishna. You're doing something, some service for Krishna. Prabhupada was doing so much service, and when there was difficulties, he would be in anxiety. About Mumbai or Bombay at the time, he was in anxiety. It really was troubling him. This man is trying to steal our property. We purchased it from him, and now he's doing all these things. And he was disturbed. But that disturbance is actually Krishna conscious. It's not really a disturbance, because you're in anxiety for Krishna. That's actually very good. So we shouldn't want to just be shanti, 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 but sometimes you have to get, sometimes you get angry for Krishna. I mean, if you look at Bhagavad Gita, at one time, Prabhupada said, Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita simply to make Arjuna angry, because unless one is angry, you can't fight. You've seen Hanuman, he was fighting so much, he got angry for Lord Ram. So there's certain things that in the Brahman realization of the absolute truth, you don't have these emotions. But in Krishna consciousness, you have these emotions, you have these feelings, and they're actually very, very good to have these feelings. Taking Krishna consciousness seriously, taking your responsibility seriously. You work really hard to make it a success. And the results are, generally the results are spiritually a success when you try like that. And generally, materially, it's also a success, or externally, it's not really material. So this equanimity of mind should also be there by seeing Krishna everywhere. But I have this service to do, and I have to do what I have to do. Whether my mind is peaceful or not peaceful, that's not as important as the service we actually have for Krishna. Of course, if we become agitated materially, then that's a problem. So we have to see if my mind being agitated, is that spiritual or is that material? If it's for Krishna that you want, for instance, we're having a Rath Yatra come up, you have some service to do, and you're disturbed in your mind because you want the service to be a success and you're working really hard, and you might feel somewhat disturbed. So therefore, you can see that that's spiritual anxiety. And if you want to succeed materially, either at your job or with your family problems, then that's just material. We could say, well, we're trying to help them be devotees. Yes, if you're trying to help them to be a devotee, then that anxiety would be spiritual. So Krishna, of course, he knows, and we should also know whether our anxiety or our mind being agitated, whether that's spiritual or material. And of course, the spiritual agitation, the spiritual anxiety, that's actually very much welcome by the devotee. Devotee doesn't care. It's not like he's looking for anxiety, but if it comes, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that the result for Krishna is good, just so that Krishna is pleased. That's all that matters. I don't mind, if I'm suffering, that's fine. But I want it to be a success. Okay. So I'll read the purport again, and I'll go over it. Equanimity of mind, as mentioned above, is the sign of self-realization. Srila Prabhupada was pretty much always peaceful. Always. Even if he got sometimes a little disturbed. Like one time, I don't remember the exact circumstance, but Prabhupada seemed to get angry or disturbed about something because devotees mess things up. And then some new bhakta told Srila Prabhupada, maybe you should chant Hare Krishna. And Prabhupada took his beads and started chanting Hare Krishna. Normally, if it was me, that may not be the best thing to tell me at a time like that. But Prabhupada is not disturbed. And even when he seems to be very disturbed, the next moment he's completely peaceful. So it's not really it's not very deep. It's not like I'm disturbed and I can't stop being disturbed. It bothers me so much. So those who have actually attained to such a stage should be considered to have conquered material conditions, specifically birth and death. No longer have to take a material body. So as long as one identifies with this body, he is considered a conditioned soul. But as soon as he is elevated to the stage of equanimity through realization of self with a small s, he is liberated from conditional life. Prabhupada says all his disciples, all my disciples are liberated. All the devotees are liberated. Liberation is not that big of a thing. It is for materialists, but for devotees, it's not that big of a thing. So in other words, he is no longer subject to take birth in the material world, but can enter into the spiritual sky after his death. The Lord is the spiritual sky, it mentions, not the particular planet, it doesn't say. The Lord is flawless because he is without attraction or hatred. He has no friends, he has no enemies, he's equal to all. Similarly, when a living entity is without attraction or hatred, he also becomes flawless and eligible to enter into the spiritual sky. So not to be attracted to anything and not to be repulsed by anything. Then you become flawless. And all of us, if we're honest with ourselves, unless there's somebody on here that I'm not noticing, because I didn't really read all the different people, but I'm assuming all of us have some attraction to something. And we also are repulsed by other things. So we're not completely ready to go back to the spiritual world. We're not completely flawless. We still have some flaws. I mean, everybody pretty much are attracted to their family. What are they repulsed by? Repulsed by some drunkards. I mean, there's different things that are repulsive, or hatred towards. Not necessarily hatred. Trying to think what I have hatred towards. I don't know, but I'm sure I do. But I can definitely think it, I'm attracted to things. So I'm not completely flawless. So what are you going to do? Keep chanting Hare Krishna and eventually you will be. Okay, does anybody have any questions on anything that I read or anything that I said?
Well, I have a predicament.
Predicament. That's
How,
interesting.
how do you recognize you're not this body when most of the time we think you're this body?
Well, that just makes me think of when Prabhupada, devotee told Prabhupada, sometimes I'm in Maya, and Prabhupada says, you're always in Maya. Sometimes you're
Right.
Krishna.
Sometimes you fall into Krishna.
So that's kind of our situation, is we, once in a while, we remember that we're not this body. But we should see it more and more as the time goes by, by hearing and chanting. That helps us to see it. We repeat it. It makes us think about it. This reminds me of a friend I had, Nicky Manino, I think his name was. But anyway, he became a heroin addict. Then he went and he got cured, and he was in a halfway house. And then he became he worked at the halfway house with new people coming in. And because he already had all the experience of being addicted to heroin, and now he's not. And now he's telling everybody who comes, basically he's preaching to them to help them to give up this heroin. And he was the only person I knew who actually stopped heroin. It's very, very addictive. And I think the reason he stopped is because he kept on saying it, kept on pointing out all the flaws, all the problems, and how it ruins your life and so many things. So similarly, we keep hearing, and there are people from follow other, even Gaudiya Math gurus, who say that we talk about too much about how you're not that body. You have to go beyond that. You have to come to, the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. But we still do think that we are this body, and we still do think we want to enjoy this body. So the more we hear about it, the more it'll sink in. So we have to hear it. We're not on that platform to just start hearing about Radha and Krishna's pastimes. At least I'm not. I mean, I can hear some things. It's not like I can't hear anything. But we still, I still think of my body. So, intimate pastimes between Radha and Krishna isn't what I should be hearing, as much as hearing how I'm a spirit soul. I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. I have one of 5 different rasas I might be in. And think about what those different rasas are like, and how unfortunately, I'm not this body. It would be horrible to be the body. But yet at times we think we're the body. So we have to hear about it more, and we have to think about it more. And especially when we see we're acting on the bodily platform, and we have to try to bring ourselves to the spiritual platform.
It's not at times we think we're this body. Most of the time we think we're this body. At times I get a bit shell-shocked. I actually get shell-shocked once in a while when I actually recognize I'm not this body. Oh my God, I'm not this body. I'm not going to be in this body forever, So you kind of feel a kind of a shock, when you recognize that momentarily at times. And then this morning in the Bhagavad Gita class, I think Kavish mentioned a very nice phrase. He said like asat grahat, and I looked at the translation of that. The exact translation is we are in this temporary house or temporary body. So we are in this false house, So the body is called asat grahat,
Yes.
So,
Yeah, we're in this temporary house. And it's falling apart.
right.
And we're doing all this maintenance. We go to all these specialists to do maintenance on this body. And it's gonna very soon just completely collapse. This house.
Yeah. It's deteriorating, yes. This false house.
I remember I don't know, probably nobody here, maybe you did, Gitamala, heard of the Marx Brothers. Have anybody heard of the Marx Brothers?
Yes, I think they were comedians, right?
Yes, they're very funny. And they're very old comedians. I mean, not like in recent times. They probably died, I don't know how many years ago, but.
Did Srila Prabhupada mention them? I think he might
No,
have.
Srila Prabhupada mentioned Charlie Chaplin.
Charlie Chaplin, okay.
But anyway, we used to do plays in the mood of the Marx Brothers in Chicago regularly. Krishna conscious plays, but in the mood of the Marx Brothers. And we had somebody preaching to one of the Marx Brothers says, "You're not that body." And his response was, "Then whose body am I?" That's the similar to the Marx Brothers stuff. Say, whose body am I? It got to be somebody's body. You're not your body. And whose body am I?
Well, Srila Prabhupada asked the little boy, remember, like, whose hand is this? And he said, it's my hand. Who's,
Right.
like everything. Then if it's, if it's your hand and it's your face, your body, then who are you? That's how he kind of preaches to the young person. That means that you are separate from your body, you, the real you.
Unfortunately, when you do that for most people, they just like point to their whole body, This is just
No,
part
I actually did this with my atheist neighbor, and she actually was for once really baffled for an answer. She was like really tongue-tied and she couldn't say anything, and she was actually thinking. And I thought Prabhupada's, his thing worked, his process worked, the way he was trying to teach this young boy.
Yeah, she was thoughtful, because then who's the I that's possessing all of these things?
Correct. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. But people just think that it's I'm the whole body, the whole thing together is me.
Right. First time she didn't have an answer for me. Otherwise, she always has some answer, her answer.
You should have just went home.
We were going for a walk. It was in a beautiful, peaceful place. And she kind of actually thought for a minute when I said that. And I said, see,
what was her answer?
She actually didn't have an answer when I said, who are you then? If this is your body, this is your head, this is your hands. We say my hands, my head, my body. then who are you? She didn't, she for a minute, for the first time, she actually didn't have an answer for me. she thought about it. I'm sure it didn't go in deep enough for her to change her mind, but she did not have an answer.
Gee, you had some-
No, I just heard that the
you
body,
talk louder, please.
the body is actually an embarrassment for the spirit soul.
Right. Srila Prabhupada says the fact that we are embodied is an embarrassment to the soul. Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, not for us, but yeah, for a devotee, it is, and he feels he has, yeah, that we took birth because we rebelled against Krishna.
Matter.
Okay, anyone else have a comment or question or
Hare Krishna,
perplexity?
Hare Krishna, Hare Prabhuji. Just one small thing I was remembering when you were saying about Radha Krishna pastime. I mean, in Prabhupada Leelamrita, it has been mentioned that when he was staying at somebody's place, maybe in Delhi, then the family members, the couple said, please tell me something about the Ras Leela pastime. Tell us. So Prabhupada first tried to ignore them, like not telling those pastime. And then they insisted. Then Prabhupada said that maybe you are qualified to hear, but I am not qualified to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah,
So I
right,
was remembering.
right. Yes, maybe you
What a
call.
wonderful answer.
Yeah, that's really good. That's, I remember that.
Yeah, and Pyari Prabhu, I heard one recently. Jananivas Prabhu was saying in his memories of Prabhupada, how Prabhupada was undisturbed. He said when he came to the Calcutta temple, when he first saw him and met him, he was offering him a garland, and he also had a bowl of flower petals in his hand. And then when he was putting the garland, the bowl touched the corner of his eye. But Prabhupada did not even blink. He said, most people, when something comes close to your face or your eyes, you automatically have a reaction and your eyes blink. And that's how he knew that this is a very special person, that he was totally undisturbed. Most people have a reaction, that even when it came so close to his eye, where he what can I say, not knocked, but touched him with a bowl, his eyes didn't even blink, and he was very close. And he said, oh my God, this person is so undisturbed that he doesn't even blink when things come so close to his eyes. He actually hit him near the eyebrows with the bowl.
It just
Prabhupada
reminds
didn't
me,
blink, and he was undisturbed.
it's a little different, but somebody who can see that Prabhupada was not a normal human being, that he's very spiritual. This was a police officer at New York Rath Yatra. Prabhupada was there, and he said, normally when there's a really important person, famous person, and so many people basically worship that person, when he's going through the crowd, they have to have the police to push everybody away so he can get through. And he said, but you're a spiritual master. He came down and the crowd just parted, just like, he said, just like the, what is
Red
that?
Sea.
Yeah, the Red Sea, yeah. And it parted, that's never happened before with anyone famous. He said he can see that he was very spiritual, that happened. Prabhupada got off and everybody just made a path for him. He didn't have bodyguards around him pushing people out of the way. I just read that. Okay, so we'll do one more verse unless anyone else have a comment. There's nice comments about Prabhupada, they're really wonderful. Okay, I'll read the translation myself. Na prashyet priyam prapya nodrijet prapya chapriyam stirabudir asamudo brahmavid brahmani stita. In English. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, not bewildered, but who is unbewildered, and who knows the science of God is already situated in transcendence. So this is the first thing. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant. You won the lottery. Shouldn't be playing, but somehow you won. But you don't rejoice, no big deal. Nor lament upon obtaining something unpleasant. Just got a speeding ticket. No big deal because I just won the lottery. Who is self-intelligent, self-intelligent. So using your intelligence for yourself, like when Prabhupada, devotees told Prabhupada that he's so selfish, Prabhupada said it's okay to be selfish if you know who your real self is. So self-intelligent, meaning you know who your real self is and you're using your intelligence for the benefit of you, the soul. Who is unbewildered and who knows the science of God is already situated in transcendence. Purport. The symptoms of the self-realized person are given herein. The first symptom is that he is not illusioned by the false identification of the body with his true self. That's the first thing which we're just talking about, Gita Mala, that you sometimes get that realization. That's the first thing. I mean, and here we go again. We're not that body. The first symptom is that he is not illusioned by the false identification of the body with his true self. He knows perfectly well that he is not this body, but is the fragmental portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is therefore not joyful in achieving something, nor does he lament in losing anything which is related to the body. That's important. So spiritually, he may be joyful. You know, when you see the deities, you might be joyful. When you're in kirtan, you might be joyful. But not anything to do with the body. So this steadiness of mind is called stira buddhi, or self-intelligence. He is therefore never bewildered by mistaking the gross body for the soul, nor does he accept the body as permanent and disregard the existence of the soul. This knowledge elevates him to the station of knowledge, to the station of knowing the complete science of the absolute truth, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. He thus knows his constitutional position perfectly well, without falsely trying to become one with the Supreme in all respects. This is called Brahman realization or self-realization. Such steady consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. Okay, just going to go over the purport. I'll read the verse again. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the science of God, is already situated in transcendence. Okay, the symptoms of the self-realized person are given herein. The first symptom is that he is not illusioned by the false identification of the body with his true self. So the first symptom is he knows he's not the body. He knows he's a spirit soul. He knows he's an eternal servant of Krishna. That's the first symptom. And he acts on it. So when he loses something material, gains something material, does not affect him at all. He knows perfectly well that he is not this body, but is a fragmental portion of the Supreme Personality of God. So not just that he's a spirit soul, but what is a spirit soul? It's a part and parcel of Krishna. Same quality as Krishna, just not the same quantity. It's a little part of Krishna. We're all little tiny parts of Krishna. And we're ecstatic, we're effulgent, we're full of knowledge, we're full of bliss. Even every little part of Krishna is. And we're simultaneously one with Krishna and different from Krishna. Inconceivably. So he is therefore not joyful in achieving something, nor does he lament in losing anything which is related to his body. The steadiness of mind is called sthira buddhi, or self-intelligence. So he is therefore never bewildered by mistaking the gross body for the soul, nor does he accept the body as permanent and disregard the existence of the soul. You know, it's really, really nice that we have this philosophy. Of course, most of you people who are from India, you kind of grew up with this, I believe, you know, that you're the soul. We also, we didn't, I don't know what the heck we thought, because we thought we have a soul as a Christian. We have a soul, but not that we are the soul. I would think we're the body, but we have a soul. I don't really get it. It makes no sense when I think about it now. And at my mother's funeral, the priest spoke, and he said some things that made little to no sense. He didn't have it where we are the soul. Then I spoke, and I explained basically how we are the soul. The soul leaves the body. Depending on our consciousness, determines where we go. But Krishna consciousness is so nice because it's so simple, so direct, and it's so exactly perfect. See, trying to think of a prayer we used to say for children, little kids. Now, when we're going to bed, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. And if I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. My soul, my soul. I don't know how I I don't know what I thought. I know one thing, I was scared because I'm praying that if I die before I wake, I'm thinking I don't want to die before I wake. And so far I haven't. Since I've been saying that prayer. Because I don't say it anymore. Now I use it in my magic show, but I changed it. And only old, because they don't say it anymore, even in Christians. I think it's too scary for kids. But older Catholics know that prayer. But my soul is different than me. I pray the Lord my soul to take. My soul. Anyway, it makes so much sense when I am the soul. I'm not the body. That's just that little misidentification makes all the difference of having real knowledge and having real understanding. I am the soul. I am the soul within this body. And then we can go further. I'm eternal. I'm full of knowledge. I'm full of bliss. I'm a little tiny fragmental part and parcel of God. I'm meant to serve God. And I have this body which I can use in his service. I can use this body to serve God. And I have no other use for this body. The seeing yourself as a soul it's the first thing. What does it say? There's this steadiness of mind. Well, that's in the first sentence. The first symptom is that he is not illusioned by the false identification of the body with the true self. Everybody is in that illusion. I mean, even we're in that illusion, and we know this and hear it over and over. But if you compare it to other philosophies, I mean, or other religions, it just is so perfect because it's what it is. Bhagavad Gita as it is. This is the situation as it is. This is who we are. We're not this body. So he is therefore never bewildered by mistaking the gross body for the soul, nor does he accept the body as permanent and disregard the existence of the soul. So this knowledge elevates him to the station of knowing the complete science of the absolute truth. And the complete science of the absolute truth here is Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So he thus knows his constitutional position perfectly well, without falsely trying to become one with the Supreme in all respects. Anyway, it all starts with knowing that you're not this body. So anyone else have any comments or questions? Tamala, you almost said something.
No, I just was thinking about your nighttime prayer. I remember when Divya was little, she was getting bad nightmares, you know. My mother taught her this prayer, Ramam Skandam Hanumantam Vainateya Vrakodaraha Shayaneya Smare Nityam Duswapnam Tasya Nashati. This is thinking about Ram and Hanuman and Bhima. And so the next morning she actually started, she says, Mama, it worked. She said, you know.
Yeah,
I think
mine just scared me.
that.
My prayer scared me.
Oh, scared you.
If I die before I wake. That's not a nice thing to have the little kid say when he doesn't even know who he is. If you teach him you're a spirit soul, you don't die. Spirit soul never dies. You have to leave that body. Even that's hard for a little kid to understand. But anyway, we're not the body.
But when you think about all these great personalities, of course, you're not going to be getting nightmares.
No, that's perfect. Think of that. That's I wish I had something like that. But anyway, whatever it is, I learned from it. You know, I learned about Krishna consciousness, how it's so simple and so pure and perfect. And nothing else is. No other religion is. There's always there's things that make no sense in it. You know, like animals have no souls. What the heck is it? Well, they sure seem to be alive. They sure seem to have feelings. They feel pain. They're happy sometimes, you know, they're sad. I mean, but they have no soul. So what is it? What makes an animal an animal? And everyone accepts it in the Catholic Church. Maybe not everyone, because not everybody follows so strictly. Not everybody knows even that animals have no soul.
Now they speak a little bit like us, though, because I remember one nurse that I was taking care of me was saying that her father died, you know, and she said, the priest said, you know, his house is gone. His house is, you know, fallen apart, but he has gone back to heaven. You know, he's fine.
Right.
You know, it's just that his house that he lived in has fallen apart, and you know, is what you're seeing there, you know, as his body. So she actually said that to me, and I said, oh, that's exactly what we think.
Well, I know even when I grew up, you die, you go to heaven, or you go to hell. You go somewhere eternally. But it's who goes. I don't know what that is. I don't know. It's the soul. The soul goes, but what is the soul? Anyway, I'm really happy I got Krishna consciousness, because other things I didn't make. At the time, I thought they were nice and it made sense, but then after some time when I started thinking more, it didn't make so much sense. You know, Christianity, maybe not Christianity, because I don't even know what's the difference between Christianity and Catholicism. But in Catholicism, Even they say these things, like the Catholics think that Jesus is God, and Catholics think that Jesus is not God, he's the Son of God. And I don't know what the big popes thinks, or what the leaders think, because they think different things.
The greatest difficulty is they think he's the only Son of God.
Well, it says my only begotten Son. I always question, what does begotten mean?
Right.
Begotten Son.
Right. Only begotten Son.
I don't know.
Well,
Anyway,
what is that? They call Immaculate Conception, right? Yeah.
I don't want to get too much into Christianity.
I know.
I'm just saying, I'm very happy that Krishna consciousness explains everything so clearly. Whereas as a Catholic, but okay, even as a Catholic, they have a prayer. I believe in God, the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, his only Son, who is seated at the right hand of God. So there's God, he has a right hand, and Jesus is sitting next to him. It's like, how can he be God? You know, even the Catholic, that's the prayer of the Catholics. Anyway, I can't explain a lot of what they believe, why they believe it, but it's not very clear. And the animals have no souls. It just makes so much sense. Every living entity is a soul. That's so simple. Every living entity. It's not like only the animals have soul. The mosquito has a soul. The mosquito is the soul in a really terrible body. It just sucks blood. So anyway, every living entity is a spirit soul, and I'm a spirit soul. And I'm not this body, and I'm happy because, I understand what that nurse was saying, how the body it's just an old house breaking down, and finally the soul comes out and goes to heaven or hell. But they don't say that the body, the house, is really who they are, and their body has the soul. That's what they think. I have a soul, not I am the soul. I never heard anybody ever say I am the soul, except for devotees, of course. So Radhika, who are you?
Yeah, that's when we explain the difference, that's what we say, that the other religions believe the body as a soul, but then we believe the soul takes on a body. So it's the opposite, the soul takes on new bodies, gives up one body and takes another body. So when we explain the difference, we say that, and that kind of makes an impression. In the history classes, when they talk about the difference between religions, when they do comparative religion, that's a statement I always make. And then they think about it, that it's not that the body has a soul, but the soul takes on a new body, the soul is the important thing, and the body is just a covering for the soul.
Right.
You asked Radhika a question, right?
Yeah, Radhika, who are you?
I'm the soul.
Are you asking me or are you telling me?
I'm telling you.
Okay, very good. Okay, well, we're gonna end class about a minute early. So let's offer our obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord.
यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्यो च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय वैष्णव वृंद की जय।
Grace Pyari Mohan
हरि मोहन
Prabhu.
प्रभु जी की जय।
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.